I wanted to bring up this one because I really am interested in your response to this because we've had a few days to kind of marinate with this, but I just got to ask you straight up about the JFK files.
Mhm.
Was the release of the JFK files last week, was it a complete 100% distraction, or is there something there of any sort of value for us, or is it 100% just distraction?
Well, a couple of notes before I even say anything is that I have not personally gone through every page that's been released. I think that's fair to point out. I have gone over a good amount of stuff throughout in search, but I reached out to Corey Hughes right out of the gate. He's an expert on this topic. I've interviewed him interviewed him once about this. I've talked to him many times about this, and he came on the show briefly and talked about his opinion. So I'll tell you what he thought, and I think it matters. His opinion on this has more weight than most for me. But for me, what I understand and what I've seen, and from the broader conversation and Corey's points, everything that was in there was already publicly known. Other than a few portions, most of it was in there was already publicly known. Other than a few different things that Corey was adamant about are not related to the idea of who killed JFK. There's rabbit holes, there's different ideas that are distracting people, in his opinion, but nonetheless are still, as he acknowledged, yeah, there's still relevance to them. There's still things to be interested in, but it's not relevant to who killed JFK. And his point was, and I agree with this, you don't need, even if there was a whole bunch of new information, you don't need it. What we already have out proves that Israel was involved with the assassination. So was the CIA. It's the evidence has been there forever. And many of those points in like more so redacted documents still alluded to Israel, even with what they released. I think they were just trying to water it down and act like that was the bigger picture. So I'm of the mind that it was absolutely placation. So again, to what Corey pointed out is what they released. Anything that made a difference to the main point was already out in public. And then there was other things that released, he argued, were like red herrings to distract people that weren't really relevant to that. And so that's the general premise. That's what I believe as well. I think it was obvious. Now, I mean, stand back and look at the bigger conversation. Have we seen any developing bombshells other than the kind of like partisan, takes on it? Like, this changes everything. Like, okay, in what way? Right? I mean, like, what are we seeing? Are there new lawsuits? Is there new, no, that we already know the story. And so this was an attempt to bury this under something else, to make it seem as if we've gotten full disclosure. And even more weird about this, this is a side note, but I find it just alarming in a lot of different ways. You guys could take it for what you will. Donald Trump was openly discussing, and I think this was meant to make it appear as if they released more than they should have, even though they really didn't, that he was going, we even released people's social security numbers who were dead. And I just make sure you just give it to them all kind of thing, right? Even though they redacted plenty of stuff, which is hilarious. The point was, apparently a former staff member that worked with Trump and somebody there's many of them speaking out right now, they were their social security numbers, people that are currently alive. And they're going like, this is a violation of the Privacy Act. And wow. From my research, it's completely accurate. And so it makes you wonder, was that just clumsy? Like, did they literally just not look through this, even though they're redacting? Or was it a carefully crafted effort to go, be outraged about this and miss the fact that, I don't know, but it just shows you that none of this is in the interest of actual transparency from the most transparent administration that's censoring and hiding information and not telling people that, hiding who's working with Doge and not revealing information and being lied to every day. To me, to the point, I definitely think it was about whether it's distraction or trying to bury the main point that, and with the context of what's going on today, that Israel was involved with that. Right. I mean, and I mean, even RFK publicly said the CIA killed him. I mean, but we already know that, right? So where is the revelatory information about that? He's involved and he said that, and yet what just came out, there's no bombshell in there that says the CIA did this, even though we already know that. So why would anybody pretend like this changed anything? I mean, I'm still waiting for them to show me what they think changed, because I haven't seen that. Have you?
No, I think that the mentioning of how many times that the CIA requested that Israel be redacted from the massive amount of pages, right. I think that was the eye-opening thing, because it's not an actual piece of evidence, but it is saying we didn't know up till now how many times that request was made. Is that accurate, or did we have an exact count on that before this release, that there were actually this many times that the CIA says, no, we want to request this be removed?
Are you referring to the redactions of this recent process, or are you saying that was revealed that in the past they had redacted that many times?
Because I think that there's like, you can count them now, where before there was just a general idea that there had been a request to
Okay,
redact. Now
so
we're
new
going to see
information.
each and every one of them.
Yeah, some new information has come out. So my point would be the same, that I'm of the mind, and I would defer to people like Corey Hughes, who like, this is the thing that they do, right? He just every diving through this information he's written many books on it. But based on that information, and yes, from what I've seen as well, it appears that what has already been out is a restructuring of information, or rather what was put out is just a restructuring of what we already know and it's already been proven. I mean, look back to the main point. Let's just say they did show that they had asked for this to be redacted. I don't think anybody's confused about how willfully the U.S. government covers up things about Israel, or the fact that we know that Israel was responsible and involved with this. So that seems in its own right about, because what you could do in that is argue that, well, that doesn't prove that they're responsible. They're just covering for an ally, or they're just hiding national security. It buries the unknown, or it makes it appear as if it's unknown, when his point is we already know this stuff. Yeah. Right. So who knows? Maybe it's a clumsy thing. Maybe it's a carefully crafted effort to, of something they already know that we're seeing, and to try to make it a little more murky. Because I do think a lot of that's happening right now in a lot of conversations where they know we see it. Like, we can go off, you and I could talk for an hour about different things that everyone seems to be aware of, but we just have different ways we kind of hide it, or, whether it's COVID-19, mRNA shots, or whatever. And they know that everyone's worried about it. So they try to do very carefully crafted effort to, muddy that conversation, to even divide people within things that have already made conclusions. And it's all just in the interest of, I think, dividing us at a time when we've never seen more sort of unified concern about very, very clear things that are in like central to what's rolling out right now. And as long as they can keep us distracted, pointing at our neighbors, then they'll be able to roll it out. I mean, the last thing I'll say is that I've never been more concerned about this, that I keep seeing that whatever conversation we're going to point to, Israel's obvious to me, that the majority of people in the world are calling it out. We see it. We know what's happening. And it doesn't matter if it's 100% of people. We're standing there going, we see you, stop. And they go, okay, well, no one's kicking my door down. I'm going to keep going. And they keep going. Here's more bombs. Kill those people. Starve those children. And we see you. And they don't care. So all I was highlighting is, and I'm not calling for violence. That is the last thing we should be doing. Because I think violence begets violence. But what do we do? Like, we see the majority. They see that we see them, and they just keep going. That either shows you that they're so compromised that they don't have a choice, or that they're in line with another agenda that is not America's interest. I think it's probably both. But I think it behooves us to think how else we can make change with this. How do we make that? Where's the tipping point there if we were already past the majority? I honestly don't know, but we need to keep pushing at the very least, right?
Yeah, we absolutely need to keep pushing. Ryan Cristián, the last American vagabond, thanks for being with us today on The Homeless Left. You guys got to check out his work. As we know, he's the most censored man on the internet, and we love what you do, Ryan, and you set a high bar for the rest of us independent media folks to keep up with you, and to, just to be honest and report what we can and have these discussions like today. So much appreciated. Thanks so much, and we hope to have you back on again soon.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. Always enjoy the conversation. I'll see you next time.